Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. It's Friday. You know what that means.
Front Office Friday, schedule edition.
Let's go. The schedule is out today. We've got schedule nonsense, not schedule nonsense for today's show. We're going to be talking about some of the highlights on the NBA schedule, some of the games we can't wait to see. Plus, we're going to be picking our my teams, 3 teams each that are not the Lakers or the Celtics. That had to be a prerequisite that we are both really, really excited to see this season. And we tried to pick some under the radar teams as well. Both Keith and I did. So I'm excited to dive into that too. Keith, you know what? The only unfortunate part is that we still have to wait, like, what is it, like 6 weeks or something till training camps officially start. But I'm already fired up. Like, Team USA, all that stuff, it was long enough ago, even though it was just a few days ago. It was long enough ago to where I'm already missing basketball and just start the season. Let's go. Let's get this thing started.
I'm with you, man. I don't want to trip on something I will talk about with one of my teams, but today I was working on something. I started thinking about that team and what they could look like, different lineup combinations, and I just got super excited about it. So I'm ready to go. I like this question because I was going to ask you this. What would have happened if I picked the Lakers or you picked the Celtics? That would have been kind of funny.
I'm pretty sure the universe would have collapsed in on itself.
I think so too.
That happened.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what would have happened there. But unfortunately, we did not pick those teams. In fact, I'll tell you this. I was not expecting your picks. I know your picks. You don't know mine. I was not expecting your picks, the picks that you made. When they came through, I went, oh, like I would not have guessed the teams that you picked. And so I can't wait to hear the rationale behind some of these selections, because there's some spicy ones. I think teams that most people wouldn't necessarily pick as my team. So I can't wait to hear that. The schedule is out. Have you filled out your calendar for the year at this point?
Working on it. I am through November. So I'm through the first. I just kind of count October as part of November because we only get 9 days worth of games or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So I've done October and November, and then I'll just keep plugging along. I like that on Election Day Eve, the day before Election Day. The NBA is once again taking Election Day off as a game day, and I like the day before, all 15 teams are playing, and they went back to that every 15 minutes from 7 to 10:30. There's a game tipping off, which is a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun when they did it a couple years ago, because we really you could catch the end of like every game because you could just pop over and see the end of it. So that was a lot of fun.
How many TVs will your wife allow you to have this year?
We have one TV in like the rooms. Then we have another TV that like we can move, and we do often at her request. We'll move it if she's like, I want to watch a football game and I want to see the baseball game, especially when the playoffs start and stuff. So we're kind of in agreement on that. Anything more than that, she'd be like, no, we're out. So I rely on non-game nights, the Game Mix channel on DirecTV, because it'll show up to 8 games at once. And I love that thing. So I'll just pop around. And then if it's like a game's getting close or something looks like it's interesting, part of the reason I'm on Twitter all throughout games is I let Twitter kind of guide me. Because you know, if you're on Twitter, you're going to hear like, holy crap, player X is going off. He's got 20 points in the first quarter. So then I'm definitely going to make sure I pop over that and get into that to see what it looks like.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it, because and there are accounts out there that do league pass alerts, right? Hey, everybody jump over to this game. But I still think the dream is just a wall of TVs, right? And you could have every game on at once. That is still the dream. I have not worked up enough brownie points in order to actually accomplish such a feat, but that is the dream. Someday we will get there.
I also don't have a house that I could, like a room where I could reasonably pull that off. Like and let's face it, we both do this for a living, so neither one of us are millionaires. So I don't know that the finances are in play for that yet.
We would have 15 TVs, but they would all be the Michael Scott plasma screen. the like 12 by 12 or whatever it was, or 12 by whatever he had, and that would be our 15th screen. We'd have to be right up next to him to watch it, but maybe we could pull it out off the wall just a little bit.
Sometimes I'll just stand here for hours.
For hours. You just killed the TV. Our guy Pete said, "Hey Keith, Trevor, that was one of the best episodes. That was one of the best episodes,
way up there
of the dinner episode." It's funny because it wasn't in the office that they shot it, but what a great episode. But our guy Pete comes in, says, "Hope you're both doing well." Thanks, Pete. Who do you pick as your one sleeper in each conference that could be sneaky good? So I don't want to step on the toes of our my team picks. So let me pick, and I don't want to step on the toes of any of your picks because my initial thought is actually one of your selections. So
you can go ahead. I don't care. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I think I'm going to pick a team that we're not already looking at, and I'm going to say the New Orleans Pelicans. I think that if you get a healthy season out of New Orleans, which has been extremely elusive, but I think this can be a very good team. There's a Brandon Ingram trade potentially out there at some point for them to add a piece that they need, but Zion is fantastic. Yes, they need help in the middle for sure, but you added DeJounte Murray. I'm very high on him, his talent level. I think the depth that you've got on the wing as well is going to be really useful. I think that could wind up being a pretty good team. Again, if with them, they can stay healthy.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'll pick this one. Some people may say this is cheating, but I think everything I'm reading about them, people have them in like most people don't have them in the top 4 of the Western Conference. I think the Golden State Warriors might be pretty good this year. I think they did some good work this offseason, rebalancing their roster. Yes, they lost Klay Thompson, but they brought in Kyle Anderson, DeAnthony Melton, and Buddy Hield. I think those 3 guys are going to play a lot and play really well for this team. Again, a lot of it's to do with health, because if they lose Steph for any number of games, or if Draymond gets himself suspended again, they're probably going to be down in the play-in range. But I think they have a chance to be really good this season again, like a top 4 team in the Western Conference if all comes together. And then I'll throw one in from the East. I think a lot of people are underrating Orlando. I think people are kind of writing them off a little bit and forgetting this team was pretty good. And I actually just finished listening to a podcast this morning where there were multiple people who said they were picking Miami over Orlando to win the division. And I was like, sure. I mean, certainly could happen.
It could happen.
But like, it was like not even a thought for them to pick anybody but they were almost kind of laughing about, well, this is just Miami's division. And I don't know, man. I think Orlando's going to be pretty good.
We're in sync here.
Yeah, look at that.
Because Pete chimed in. He picked Orlando for the East and New Orleans for the West. There we go. We're on the same page. And we didn't step on the toes of any of our my team picks. So, Keith,
let me answer this one real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Svi Mikhailuk signing with the Jazz didn't open a roster spot for Boston. He was a free agent. Celtics are at 14 players on standard contracts, and all 3 two-ways are filled. So we'll see, where they kind of go from there. But yeah, they've got one standard spot open, and Brad Stevens already said highly likely he's going to leave it open. That's what they've done pretty much every year. And then somebody just asked about Patty Mills. We talked about that on the last show.
Yep, that was on our last show, so make sure you guys go and check that out. Let's just jump into the schedule real quick. Was there anything that stood out to you on the schedule? Any big takeaways? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? How did you feel about the schedule in general now that it is officially unleashed upon the world?
Yeah, I don't get all bent out of shape out of the national TV stuff. I get it's a sign of respect for teams. I fully understand that. I will say I did like Pacers got some more games. Orlando got a few games. That's good to see. They're starting to grow, right? But the NBA has always been, it doesn't really matter where you play. If you're good, we will put you on TV. Like Oklahoma City was a staple on national TV games for years when they had KD and Russ. the Spurs were a staple for years, and that's one of the smallest markets in the NBA. So they'll put teams on. So that part I don't get too bent out of shape about. I certainly don't get worked up when it's like, because I'm sure you hear this is the oh god, the Lakers get 30 games, 30 whatever it
Mhm.
is, because some count NBA TV games, some don't. I personally think that's a little ridiculous. So we count
Yeah.
those as national TV, but whatever. But here's my thing is there are only so many West Coast teams. So almost artificially, you're going to get some more because they need teams to fill those 10 and 10:30 slots Monday through Friday. So they're always going to be in the mix, like even when teams have been bad. But let's just face it, it's the biggest fan base in the NBA. So of course they're going to get it. I mean, you and I, when we first started talking a lot, the Lakers were terrible. You even would self-admit they were terrible then,
Oh,
yet
yeah.
they were still on national TV every night because you need somebody to be on TV at 10 o'clock. So those parts don't really work me up. Did you look into, I don't know if you've even looked into it, but I went and read everything this morning, pulled some of the numbers myself. You've got the number of back-to-backs, rest advantages, and
Those
stuff
are
like
down.
that. So back-to-backs are up a little bit. And the reason the back-to-backs are up a little around the league is the NBA is trying to go into a place where they are, if you are playing in one of the real showcase games, you're
Right.
not playing the day before, the day after, which is in an attempt to juice the availability of players. So you've got that part going on there. Then you have the rest advantage games. So games where a team is, they've either been off a day and a team's on a back to back, or they've been off 2 days, team's on 1 day off. The Warriors and Bulls had the most net advantage in that, meaning most games where they were at a rest advantage over games where they're at a rest
Mhm.
disadvantage. And then it was let me double check who it was now. I think it was I can't remember that. The Suns had the least. So the Warriors and Bulls both had 4 more games where they
Right.
were at a rest advantage, and the Suns
Sure.
had 4 less. Other than that, everybody else is within a game or two on either side of that. So,
Which
yeah,
is
just
a big
kind of where
change
it's
from
at.
last year because we saw more
Yes.
teams either enjoying a rest advantage or suffering through a rest disadvantage. That number
Yep.
was much larger on either side of the spectrum. So that was something that was decreased. When I said back to backs were down, I meant back to backs tied to a national TV game.
Yes.
Were down because they want to highlight those, and it's of course they're just doing the new TV deal. They want to make sure that these national TV games you're getting number one, you're getting your best guys playing and you're getting the highest
Yep.
quality basketball. So
Yep.
that was something as well. Here is, I just real quick found a list. This is actually fan cited here of national TV games. I
Yeah.
believe
And
this
this is
is
the one that's
something
including NBA TV.
right. It's including NBA TV, but yeah, the Lakers, the top of the Lakers and Warriors, Celtics, but and people will get upset because they equate this with the quality of the team, meaning the best team should get the most national TV games. And that's just not true. That's not the metric that's going to be used to determine who gets national TV games. And as Keith already mentioned, some of it has to do with the time. If you have a West Coast team, you need somebody in that 7:30 time slot, Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern time slot. So that's part of the factor here, but it's also just how big is the market? How many
Yeah.
eyeballs is that team generating? Because that's what the national TV networks are going to care about when we're looking at, even once we get into the new TV deal and we get into Amazon Prime and all this, they're going to want to make sure that they're getting teams that are going to draw eyeballs. You can have a team that's really, really good. Look, I love the Oklahoma City Thunder. I left them off their my teams because I thought it was such a easy pick to make because I
Yep.
love watching this team play. I would love to see the Thunder on national TV all the time. That would be fantastic. But they just don't draw quite as many eyeballs as some of these other teams do. And so that's what the NBA looks like. So people get up in arms because they assume that what this says is that these are the best teams. And that's not what it's saying at all.
Yeah, the other thing is too, not all this is especially true of the Western Conference. Not all Western Conference teams are created equal as far as the time
Mhm.
zone goes. So
Sure.
you can't the NBA does not like to push the Thunder or the Timberwolves or even the Nuggets and the Suns for the part of the year that they're on whatever the standard time I think it
Right.
is. Um they don't like to push that because those teams then are playing way later than they should be, kind of in their normal time market, right? They're tipping games off at, like, if it's the Thunder and you push them to a 10:30 tip, that's like an 8:30 local time tip, and that's not great, right, for them. And you're trying to take care of their fans first. So that means the Warriors, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Kings, and the Trailblazers. Now the Trailblazers are way down. I don't even know if they have any.
They
They've
have
got four.
there's 4 for the Blazers.
So
So 4 is the minimum.
yeah.
And I bet
But
I haven't looked, but I bet they're all NBA TV games.
yeah, probably, or pretty close, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so you just end up in a spot where it is like some teams are going to get more. I'll say this too for the NBA. They've done a really good job over the past, let's call it about 3 years, of if a team is like the Warriors a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I think it was, they were just awful. And the NBA started pulling their games and then moving other teams into those time slots. So it's not quite as drastic as the NFL with the flex scheduling for Sunday Night Football and all that, but they have been more aggressive about, all right, let's get a better game in there instead and go with that. And they've started that even as soon as like the beginning part of January. I'm with that. So yeah.
And here's the thing too: if you are a team that, or you're a fan of a team that didn't get as many NBA or national televised games as you would have wanted, you're not getting as much of the spotlight as you would have wanted. Great. I hope they take it personally, right?
Yeah.
If I'm a fan of the Houston Rockets and I'm saying this is a young up and coming team, they should have more than 11 nationally televised games. Great. I hope they look at that and say, see, we're being disrespected. See, people are counting us out. And they use that as well, of course I picked the Rockets, as they use that as fuel, rocket fuel here in this case. So that's the way I'm looking at it. If I'm a fan of one of those teams, because I'm watching those games anyway. Sure, other people around the league maybe aren't seeing it as much because it's not on national TV, but use that as motivation, use that as whiteboard material, and off you go. That's what I would recommend for fans of teams that are upset that they didn't get enough nationally televised games.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I'd say this about a lot of stuff. Win. Right?
Yeah.
Win more and you'll start to get other stuff. So I don't tend to get too worked up over that part of it. If anybody's wondering, Presidual, if you just look up Presidual NBA, those are really, like, they do great work on all this schedule stuff. The only other thing I always check to just see if somehow it's somebody different. Portland has the most travel miles, but it's been that way since there's been no more.
That's a location thing.
Yeah, exactly. They're not close to anybody else. The closest team to them is the Kings, and they're not even super close to them there. I mean, not real far away, but yeah, the Kings and the Warriors, and then everybody else is a pretty good trip for them. So they're like up over 50,000 miles, but that kind of is what it is at this point.
Yeah. Okay, Keith, shall we start to unveil some of our, well, actually, sorry, I put Matthew's question here. Will there be more national games when the new media deal starts? I don't know if I saw, but I would imagine there will be, because we're going to be seeing games on Amazon Prime and all of that. My guess, again, I can't say specifically, yes, we know this, but my assumption would be that, yes, there will be.
Yeah, so for most of the year right now, the NBA in their current package with Turner and ESPN, they have, if we take the, I'm going to take the NBA TV games out of the mix here. We usually see 1 to 2 TNT nights a week and 1 to 2 ESPN nights a week. And then once football season starts, that'll start to adjust, and we may get some afternoons on Sundays. We may get some Saturday night games in there and those kind of things. So you're talking really kind of like 3 or 4 days, or really 4 to maybe 5 days. I think the way it was mapped out, you can Google this because somebody made like it was like day of the week and then had it all listed out. It's pretty much every day there's like a national game somewhere. But what the NBA did come back around and kind of reemphasize was, we are not doing exclusive nights at all. We just can't, because that's where, for a long time, if you remember, TNT Thursdays, that was it. It was whatever 2 games, those were the only 2 games on. And they said, we can't do it because it causes way too many issues in the schedule. That's how you ended up with a lot of the 4 and 5 night stuff and things like that. So they don't do that anymore. It is kind of, you'll still have the nights, those nights are lessened in this year's schedule. I'm sure there'll be certain nights where there's less games, but you're still talking, there's going to be 4 or 5 games just about every night at a minimum.
Keith, I have not looked at this to see who has the easiest early strength of schedule. I've looked at some of the strength of schedule stuff, but I don't know who officially has the earliest or the easiest early strength of schedule. I know my Lakers have like 4 tough games to start the season. I know the Suns play the Lakers have like 5 tough games to start the season, but I don't know who has perhaps the easiest strength of schedule. This early in the season, if we're talking about the first week or 2 of the season, it could be just about anybody. But I just want to make the point that in general, if you're looking at who has the easiest schedule, well, it's probably going to be the Boston Celtics. And that's not because the Celtics are getting some favor by the NBA. It's because the Celtics don't have to play themselves, and they're going to play in the Eastern Conference as well, which probably has a few easier matchups than the West does. Conversely, the most difficult overall schedule is probably going to be a team like Portland, because they don't get to play themselves and they play in the Western Conference. So a lot of times people jump into, the NBA, they're screwing us with this schedule or that schedule. A lot of times it comes down to, where do you actually stand in the hierarchy and what conference are you in, more so than the NBA trying to help out one team or another, because they're not doing that.
Yeah. So to that, as far as positive residual, again, Google them, look it up. It's all on there. They put the schedule in based on last year's winning percentage, travel, rest advantage, disadvantage, back-to-back, and all that stuff. 5 easiest strength of schedules go to Denver, Indiana, Orlando, Boston, and New York. 5 toughest, Portland, the Clippers, Houston, Phoenix, and Brooklyn. So that's Brooklyn has to play Boston and New York 8 times. So that's where they're coming from.
Yeah.
The others are they're all Western Conference teams. Portland has the worst travel situation in the league. Houston and Phoenix, being in the Central and Mountain time zones, get often weird stuff with their schedules and things like that. I don't have anywhere where it's the easiest early schedule, which does matter because sometimes teams get out to a great start. But the toughest first 2 months, based on last year's winning percentage, are the Suns and Clippers. So for what it's worth,
there you have it.
Get off to a slow start, that could be why. Clippers also have 16 back-to-backs, which is the
I saw most, that there's a few teams that have 16. And last year the most back-to-backs was 15 last year, and so now you've got teams. There's a few teams that have 16 back-to-backs this season. Whew. Yeah, pretty rough.
The last thing I'll say on the schedule, and then we can get into other stuff. No afternoon games for the Clippers anymore.
Right.
And we know why, because now they have their own building, but that just jumped out because you used to be, Clippers Saturday or Sunday afternoon was like a regular thing for them to play. Now, as the East Coast guy who loves a nice afternoon basketball game on the weekends, I'm a little bit bummed out, but it kind of is what it is. So they have their own building. They locked into the 7:30 p.m. Start time is what they've decided they're going to do, is the 7:30 local, 10:30 Eastern start time.
So that's something that is it will be a benefit, I think, to the Clippers. I can't wait to see how that arena presents on TV, because it looks really, really impressive from all the stuff that we've seen so far. Although, Keith, did you see for their opening, I believe it was yesterday, they handed out rings to people, commemorative rings, and I mean, the jokes just started flying immediately. I mean, you don't even need to make it. It's just,
How do you not have like the common sense person there who's like, well, wait a minute, we're just going to get made fun of for this.
This is not a good idea. Whoops.
It's like when they hang weird banners for stuff, and it's like, oh, you had to hang a banner for that because you can't hang a title banner. But now people are going to be like, of course, Celtics and Lakers guys, shut up. No one wants to hear about you.
Fortunately, the people we're most offending are Clippers fans, and there's not that many of them. All right, let's get into our my teams. So these are teams that Keith and I both picked that are, we try to catch a number of different teams on the NBA calendar over the course of the year, but these are teams that, at least for me personally, I'm going to be, making an extra effort to try to watch these teams because I'm excited for these ones. We'll alternate. It just so happens that in the graphic here, I've got mine first, and I think I'm going to go with the Memphis Grizzlies. I think the Memphis Grizzlies are going to be a lot of fun to watch this year. I think last year, just erase it. Just delete last season because they were so injured. This is a really fun, exciting young team. I'm curious about what Zach Edey does at the NBA level, so that adds intrigue for me. But Ja Morant seems to be on a mission. I can't wait to see what he does coming back this season. This is a very good, very talented young team that I think should be in the playoff mix in the Western Conference. So I know people look at them and they say, oh, this team was bad last year, but they were historically injured last year. A healthy Grizzlies side is actually a very, very good team. And they've got some interesting young pieces that they were able to develop last season. You look at what Jake LaRavia started to do. You look at what Gigi Jackson started to do for this team. They've got others. And so I can't wait to see all these pieces come together for Memphis. They are on my list, one of my three, my teams that I'm going to be making extra effort to make sure I catch their games.
Yeah, to the injury thing, we've talked about this before, but it's just always, to me, worth saying again because it's so crazy. 33 players played in a game for the Memphis Grizzlies last year. Just if you're brand new here and you don't follow this stuff the way we do, you have a max of 18 players on each roster. So they had almost a whole extra roster's worth of players playing games for them. And that was actually 33 players. The fewest amount of games played was 3. So 33 different players saw action in at least 3 games. That's how banged up and a mess the Grizzlies were. You had Ja, you had Desmond Bane go down. Jaren Jackson Jr. was like the only one healthy, like all season long. I kind of put it this way, our buddies over on Memphis radio, when I was talking to them earlier this week, I said to them, what I think about the Grizzlies is you kind of treat it like mining for gold. When you go out and you're panning for gold, you have to throw a whole bunch of crap away, but you keep the few good things you find, right? Hopefully you found a couple nuggets you can keep and move forward with. That's what I think. So Gigi Jackson, Vince Williams Jr., their emergence. Jaren Jackson Jr. has got the most on-ball playmaking reps he's ever seen. He had to do a lot of stuff for this team. I think you take all that good and you move forward with it and you throw away all the rest of it and you just go. So I'm beyond excited for the Grizzlies this year. This is a terrific pick by you. Kind of had a thought you might pick them, so I didn't go with them because I wanted to try to do 3 different ones. So yeah, this is a fantastic pick.
Very kind of you to leave the Grizzlies for me. Let's get to your first one. And I was shocked. The Charlotte Hornets. Keith, why are you so excited to watch the Charlotte Hornets this coming season?
All right, so a couple things. One, and yes, Charlotte is my go-to for whenever I'm like, when you're throwing a game away on a Tuesday night in Charlotte in January. Like that's what I always go to. But I love Brandon Miller. I think he is going to be awesome. I think by the end of next season, we'll all be talking about Brandon Miller is an all-star the year after that in year 3. I think he is great. I think it went a little under the radar last year because Wemby was Wemby. It was terrific. Chet Holmgren played his rookie year, and he was also terrific. But Brandon Miller was really, really good in a spot where nothing was set up for him to have any kind of help at all. Like he had to kind of do everything, and figure it out on the fly all by himself. LaMelo Ball is back healthy. When LaMelo Ball plays, they're just fun. They're just fun. They're actually really, really good offensively. Defensively, there's some questions. New coaching staff. But what excites me too with this team, if you go and look at their roster, they're like legitimately too deep at every position. Like you have legit NBA players at every position from, center through point guard. They've got at least 2 guys who could play, which tells me you have an injury or 2. Guys can step forward and you move. Things aren't going to all completely fall apart with that. So I'm all about the Hornets this year. I can't wait to watch them.
So have we now hit the point where we say, you know what? despite the public outcry, Hornets, you got it right with taking Brandon Miller?
I'm probably there. Yeah. And I was a big Scoot Henderson fan, and
Yeah.
I still am. I think Scoot Henderson's going to be really good. But yeah, I'm willing to eat a little bit of crow on that one and say I'm okay with the Brandon Miller pick.
All right. I like the pick. If you have listened to or watched this show, particularly towards the end of last season, this next one is going to be extremely on brand for me. Now, I tried to stay away from the teams that are in the contender tier, but my love for this team simply could not be contained. It's the New York Knicks. It's the Knicks, and it's not just because they're like now I think the biggest roadblock standing in the way of the Celtics. It's not that. It is, I truly enjoy their style of basketball, the physicality they bring to the game, the way they say, you know what, we're just going to kick your ass on the boards, and it's going to be hell to try to get a rebound against us. Mikal Bridges, the addition there, I think that adds so much depth on the wing. Jalen Brunson is a lot of fun to watch on any given night. This team just has this toughness to us, this grit. They never give up in any kind of game. You see them going all the way through. They play a full 48 minutes. Sometimes it's just 5 guys that play a full 48 minutes because Tom Thibodeau, that's the way it works. But the Knicks are on my must-see teams. It's part of the reason why I can't wait for opening night, because we do get Knicks and Celtics right out of the gate. I think that is going to be a really fun matchup. So again, this was the low-hanging fruit of my selection here, but I could not leave the Knicks off my list.
Yeah, this is a great pick too. I mean, it's funny. Everybody knows at this point they're probably like, he wants to see all these teams, and that's right. Like I am very excited to watch all 30. But this Knicks team is a lot of fun. They play a lot of different players, different combinations. They're going to defend really hard every night. There's also a part of a like morbid curiosity. Just how is Tom Thibodeau going to get everybody enough minutes? Like, because he plays his starters more than anybody else in the league. So I'm very curious to see how that part comes together. So yeah, I'm curious with that, but really deep, talented team. This should be a really fun year with the Knicks.
I am curious to see how they manage things in the middle without Isaiah Hartenstein now. That'll be an interesting thing to watch. But other than that, I think this Knicks team is ready to roll. All right. Let's go to your next pick. Again, another surprise. The Toronto Raptors. Keith goes, another team that is not projected to be very good in the Eastern Conference. Why the Raptors, Keith? We're going to Jurassic Park. We're running back the franchise. What are you seeing here?
I mean, I hope, right? I mean, I love it, right? I've talked about it before, but just because it was on TV the other day, that part when they first see the dinosaurs, that to me is the greatest moment in movie history.
Does the CGI stand up to you?
Yeah, it does. That part of it does. Yeah, especially with that. So, again, I think Toronto might actually be a little bit better than people think. Somebody has to be the 10th team in the Eastern Conference play-in.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not just going to cancel it because they all suck so bad. Someone's going to be that team. But Toronto, if Emmanuel quickly blossoms into what I think he can be, you have Scotty Barnes. I think RJ Barrett's in for a pretty big season. You have a couple good bigs. You have Jakob Poeltl in that mix. You've got some shooters around those guys that I think you play. I think there's a chance Grady Dick emerges this year as a shooter. You have Bruce Brown still on this roster for now. You have Davion Mitchell, should be a pretty solid backup for quickly. All around, I think this team has a lot of talent. I think Darko Rajakovic is a very creative coach, and will get them to play some different ways, which is going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, I think there's a chance the Raptors will be a really interesting team. And again, some of this for me is I want to see how it all works. Like, how do they get all these guys minutes? How do they make sure they're all handling the ball enough that everybody's getting the touches that they need to feel good and feel successful? What does that look like? But yeah, I'm excited for the Raptors.
First of all, Jay, we talked about the Pelicans earlier. You missed it earlier in the show. Grape Ape says the T-Rex blending in behind the Jeep and then starting to move and appears to everyone is better. That scene, that's a good scene. I thought, but the first time you see the dinosaurs, that was like the big, and I'm sorry, I know we're talking about the basketball team, but that was like the big like gasp moment, right?
Yeah.
Although I'll say this,
Yeah, it's like what is it? This movie's gonna be at least 30 years old, right? I would imagine.
something like that. Yeah, it was early
Yeah.
90s where that came out, but it
And
was
it's the music, it's the conversation they're having, and then it's the way that the camera like pans back and
yes.
shows like why he's freaking out because he's seeing a dinosaur. It's that moment of this guy who's devoted his entire life to learning about dinosaurs and digging up dinosaur bones. And then he sees them and he's like, it's a dinosaur. Like it's just the coolest thing. I don't know. I love it, man.
It was
so
it was
good.
awesome. And one of the creepiest things you'll ever see if you go and you look at the behind the scenes stuff, the scene where the T-Rex is they're in the rain with the Jeeps and they're
Yeah.
getting ready to get like pushed off the edge, you know what I'm talking about, that scene where the T-Rex is getting wet and it's a mechanical T-Rex and so it starts shaking because of the weight as the T-Rex, the skin of the T-Rex is getting heavier due to the water soaking into it and so it starts shaking. It's one of the creepiest things you'll see. It obviously didn't make it
Yeah.
into the movie or anything like that, but you go look it up on YouTube. It is the stuff of nightmares. All right,
And anyone who had a good surround sound system for the time when that came out played the T-Rex scene where you see the water, the cup of water, like
exactly.
start to plink a little bit. So yeah, it was
And that was from looking at the behind the scene. Again, we're on the movie and not the not the basketball team, but they put a guitar underneath the cup of water and then just pluck the string. And that was how they created that effect. Really, really cool.
Yep.
All right, let's go to my next team.
Back to basketball, I guess.
And I guess we'll talk about basketball. And it's funny because some people in the chat have been asking for this team. It's the Sacramento Kings.
Let's go.
The Sacramento Kings. I know they didn't live up to the previous season's playoff run that they had last year, but I think Sacramento, they're just so much fun. The offense that they bring, they retained Malik Monk. Sabonis is a joy to watch. De'Aaron Fox has become one of the best point guards in the NBA. This is a really exciting team, and I'll tell you this: I buy the DeMar DeRozan addition. I don't think he's this like next level, put you over the top. Now they're a title contending team, but I do think that some of his strengths fill some of the weaknesses that the Kings have. So I'm really excited for this Kings team. I can't wait to see what it looks like, especially I think DeRozan's going to be just enough to hold them over in those minutes where you don't have Malik Monk or De'Aaron Fox on the floor. I'm excited for the Sacramento Kings this coming season. They are my team on this list.
The De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis 2-man game is just gorgeous. Like there's like if you like basketball, it's just beautiful to watch. I say that they're like Jokic Murray light, and it's not even that light of a version. Those two guys are both really, really good. I have a lot of fun with that. You're watching that part of it. I like that they seemingly said, as long as we have Sabonis kind of anchoring our defense, we're probably never going to be a top 10 defense. It's probably just not going to happen. So, but what we can do is we can be a dominant offensive team, an offensive team that is so good that if we're like 15th to 20th in defense, that's enough. And that's what I think DeMar DeRozan is going to do for them. Are there some spacing questions? Sure. Totally get it. Yeah. But DeMar DeRozan, better than just about anybody else, has figured out how to make that work anyway. And what this team needed a little bit more of was needed one more passer. They've had shooters. They've had guys who can run the floor. They've had a bunch of that. But it's so much of their stuff falls apart when teams can lock in on Fox and Sabonis, or Fox or Sabonis doesn't have it that night. Now DeRozan can be that guy who goes into the playmaker mode, exactly. Whether it's he's getting shots for himself or he's setting them up for others. I think they still have enough going on anyway. There's lineups where Keegan Murray is their fifth best offensive option in the lineup. That's kind of ridiculous because I'm very high on him. I think he's really, really good. Keeping Malik Monk. Yeah, this team is, they're going to be a lot of fun. And I'm not buying the people who are like, yeah, they spend a lot of money, but they're going to be a play-in team. They may be, just because that's the nature of the Western Conference.
Yeah.
But if we get to the end of the year and they're a top 6 team, I'm not going to be the slightest bit surprised.
I don't think people want to dismiss, and of course this is Lakers bias coming in. People want to dismiss any Western Conference team by saying they're a play-in team and saying the same will be true for Sacramento, same will be true for Golden State. But if you look in the West, there's going to be teams that are, as if everybody stays healthy, there will be teams that are playoff quality teams that don't even make the play-in in the West this next season. That's what I believe we're going to see. So Sacramento, I just think they're going to be a lot of fun to watch once again. I think people don't, as you were saying, Keith, in terms of the playmaking, the passing, a lot of people still think of DeMar DeRozan as this guy brought out of the 90s that just shoots a lot of 15, 20 footers. And he's actually really good operating in the pick and roll, operating as a ball handler, can pass the ball, can set up teammates. Is he like a true point guard? No, but he can be that secondary creator for you, or can certainly do it in a pinch if DeRozan or if De'Aaron or Malik Monk are out of the game. So I like this Kings team. I'm excited to see what they've got. Again, I'm not projecting they're going to win it all or anything like that, but I think they are going to be a joy to watch this season. They're going to be a lot of fun. Keith, your final team. I'm so glad you picked this team, because had I had a fourth pick, this would have been my fourth team that I would have selected. I didn't pick them in part because it was a little bit off brand, because one particular player on this team gets the master lock of the night over on Lakers Nation essentially every single night. And that, of course, is Dillon Brooks with the Houston Rockets. Great pick here. What was your thought process?
It has been so fun to watch this team grow. 2 years ago, I liked watching the Rockets because you didn't know, are they going to hit a lady in the head who's eating popcorn in the 20th row?
Oh, no.
Are they going to, come out here and blow a 30-point lead because they take a bunch of 35-foot three-pointers? Are they going to destroy a really good team because they just run them off the floor? You had no idea what to expect. Last year, they started playing like real basketball for the first time, and you kind of got a sense of who's ready for it and who isn't. Jabari Smith Jr., ready for it. Tari Eason, in the limited time we saw him, ready for it. Amen Thompson, not quite ready for it, but it's going to get there. Jalen Green, we'll see. There's still, the jury is out on Jalen Green. Was he really good in those couple of months towards the end of the year? Because they kind of cut him loose a little bit more. Can he rein that back in and be just a good part of a team? What is that going to look like? But the Rockets are, to me, they're so fascinating because they made the jump from bad to, all right, they're on the doorstep. Can they make the other jump? What's next for them? And honestly, when you're flying in and out like I am, I don't really care about Dillon Brooks being a jerk, because it's kind of fun every once in a while. Because it's like, oh man, this random Tuesday night in Charlotte, Dillon Brooks
just got
this thing
right?
up for some reason. Like, who knows why, but he, decided to go shove Brandon Miller to the ground. And here we go. I'll also say I love Alperen Şengün.
Yes.
Like, he is just a blast to watch play. Like,
so good.
He's just so good. And I mentioned him before, but just worth mentioning again, Jabari Smith Jr. is absolutely one of my favorite players in the entire league. I think Jabari Smith Jr. is going to be terrific. I think there's going to be a point where we're like, write him in every year on your preseason all-star team. I think he's just got to make one more jump to doing a little bit more on his own, not so much needing to be set up for stuff and have plays run for him. But man, I love that kid. I love everything he has. And this team is just, they're fun. And there's even a world too where you've got some trades that they could make that could make them even more interesting as the season goes along. They've got a lot of tradable contracts. So I'm very excited to see the Rockets and watch their kind of next step of growth.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Again, they would have been my next team on the list. Şengün is a blast to watch. I think they've got some really interesting pieces. Can Jalen Green continue the run that he had for that stretch last year? This is going to be a good team. This is a team that can look at the West and say, you know what, we should be in the playoff mix. And I think they will be this year. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs because that's the Western Conference, but I believe they'll be of the quality of team that could potentially make a playoff run, at the very least make a play-in run. They were right there. They were knocking on the door last year. It didn't quite get there. I think this is the year they could indeed make that jump. Before we move on here, we do have a something new coming out over on the Basketball Bulletin channel today. I'm going to drop the link in the chat here as well. And then I've got some people that were talking about some comics and stuff like that in the chat also. If you haven't checked out the Heroic Haven, where we do talk about comic books and especially movies, have something new coming out there, I believe, later today as well. So take a look at those and make sure you guys subscribe. Caleb said you guys
Yep.
Was it this? Yeah, you guys should do a review of all 30 teams and what they did in free agency. We will. That's coming. That's coming.
Yep.
As we're going to start getting into that. I guess we kind of math says we have to start getting into that pretty soon here in order to get through all the teams. But we're going to start adding that into our shows. We won't focus the entire show on a team review, but we'll do some news and then get into a team two or two, however many we can get through in a show. We'll start getting through some of the teams as we lead up to training camp starting at the end of September. So that's coming.
Yep. Yeah. We generally do a couple teams a show and get into it that way. We kind of combine it with a off-season review, season preview, kind of all mushed into one. And but we'll definitely be getting into some of that stuff coming up here. And it's man, it really is. It's the middle of August, so it's time to get into really. We've got the schedule now. Rosters are largely complete for most teams, so we're moving, man. It's time to get ready for next year.
We know just about everything we can know without having the teams on the floor at this point. And there could be some things coming. But still, we know just about everything that we're going to know. Free agency has happened. A lot of the trade market stuff has already come and gone. So now these teams are pretty well set. And now we're just waiting for them to actually get on the floor. And we're going to have all these ideas of what we're expecting to see this season. And then they're going to step on the floor. And game one of preseason, some of that stuff may get thrown out the window. And that's always a lot of fun too, is just getting to see what is real, what's not, what's going to work, all that sort of stuff. And then, of course, the season starts up October 22nd. Can't wait. It's coming. Not soon enough, but the season is coming. Can't wait for that to happen. Keith, did you have anything else that you wanted to get into before we head off for the weekend?
No, I'm going to ask, at least over on the YouTube side, there's like a lot of people in there watching, but let's get the likes up. So I'm going to ask for a like spike if we can do that. Let's get the likes up on the video. It really helps us. It just helps more people find the videos. We're closing in on 34,000 subscribers too. Ooh. So if more people can subscribe. I remember when we were like, can we get to 5? Can we get to 10? Like
it's 5 or 10,000. Yep.
Yeah, right. Yep. And it's been a lot of fun, with that. Somebody said in the comments, I think it was on our last show, like I remember when like this show was like not even on YouTube first, and then it was here and all the stuff. And then his ending comment was, who would have thought a Celtics and Lakers fan could make such a good show? Which that always means a lot to us. We have a lot of fun with that 100%. Part of it, and we know we said we know where our bread is buttered, right? But we're trying to cover the whole league, and we like to tease each other when we can, and needle a little bit. But we've also had a couple seasons in there doing this where it's been like, let's pick each other up because we're both down and not feeling so great about where the teams were at that time. And that's when it's more, let's focus on the other 29 teams, because I hate mine right now. But yeah, it's man, it's it's a lot of fun. And what'd you say the other day? We're like up over 700 total episodes now if you combine pre YouTube and podcasts. And
we're well over 700 when you combine pre. I mean, we're just on our podcast network that we're with right now. We're at almost 700 episodes with just that, which blows me away. But when I step back and I think about it, I'm like, 5 days a week for how long we've been doing this, it adds up really quick. I would guess, because I don't know, I would guess I bet we're getting close to the 1,000 mark in total episodes that we've done together. We're probably getting pretty darn close. It is unreal. And that, I guess, a long way of saying we appreciate all of you who have been here along the way, and we can't wait for the season to start. But let's face it, those of you that are watching right now here in the middle of August, you guys are the real ones. You guys are the diehards. We appreciate all of you for being here Wouldn't be able to do this without all of you guys. So thank you guys all for subscribing, for liking, all of that, and allowing us to do this, because I hope you guys can tell we truly do love this. It's one of my highlights of my day every day, getting to come on here and talk basketball with Keith for an hour and talk with you guys on Front Office Fridays and do all of that. So we hope that shows through in what we do, and we appreciate all of you for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is. Yeah, this is a blast. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it, right? Like we're, it's there's never a point where I'm like, all right, I got to do the show. Like there are times when, trust me, as much as we love this, there's times when it's like, I just kind of want to put my feet up and take a nap. That's usually right. Like that's like the week before, like that little bit of time in between the trade deadline and the All-Star break, because we go so hard through the trade deadline. Then the All-Star break comes, and right when that comes, I only need like 2 days of no hoops, and then I'm like ready to go again. Like I'm just ready. Like right now, it's like I keep turning on the TV, and why is there not basketball on? Like why? Like right. I want to watch basketball right now. Like, can we please like figure something out? But I know there's WNBA games at night. Throw myself into that. It's really cool to see. That league is exploding in growth.
It really
I think
is.
They said the first half of their season over doubled their ratings from the prior year, that's like bonkers stuff to double your ratings from the prior year. And I know the Caitlin Clark effect is real, but she's not playing in every one of those games. So like, it's cool that like that is there, because for me, I'll take basketball in almost whatever form I can get it. Like I don't really need to watch the old 6-on-6 from the 1940s where they couldn't cross half court.
Oh yeah. You play offense or defense.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, yeah, my mom, that's how she first played basketball back in the day, was 6-on-6. Because I was like, what position did you play when I was a kid? She's like, I was an offensive forward. I'm like, what the hell is an offensive
What is that? My wife.
That's why they were forwards, because they were forward towards the basket. Like, and you were in guards played in the back because they guarded the basket.
Right.
Like, yeah, crazy. So. But there it is. So yeah, man, I love it. I think it's been a blast. I love the show. We're having a great time with this. Yeah, we'll do Trey's Asking. Will we do in season turn? Yeah, we'll do predictions.
Yeah,
on that stuff. We'll do that down the line. We'll do obviously our big season predictions like we do every year. We'll do all that stuff and then get yelled at for days on end after it. But that's part of the fun too. But seriously, the one thing I'll add, like Trevor said, if you're watching right now, you are our favorites. Like we are, you're here, and you're here in the dead middle of August watching a hoop show. There's like 3,500 people watching right now. That's I love you guys for that. That is incredible.
Absolutely. Daniel said we have college football around the corner. Yes, we do. Yeah, we also have the NFL coming up. We've got MLB is getting going, but again, it's still, all of that stuff is just, for me anyway, it's a placeholder for the time being until the NBA season starts. But that's the way we look at it. So anyway, thank you guys for being here. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Of course, if something big happens, Kevin Durant gets traded at 2 a.m. on Saturday or something like that, we'll do something else over the weekend. Otherwise, I say that because that did happen. Otherwise, have a fantastic weekend, and we will see you all on Monday. Till then, see ya and stay safe.